Hi guys. Okay, so this is the very last video for this unit. So Unit 6, Contemporary Fiction, very last lesson. This is technically the assessment, so the test for this whole unit. And since we're not at school and, things are difficult at home, as far as, finishing your schoolwork and stuff without your teacher and your classmates, I figured I would just make a video for the assessment also. So you can turn in the whole workbook once you finished all the previous lessons and the assessment, and we'll just go through it together. Most of it, anyway. Some of it you guys are going to be doing yourself, and you'll see why, but we'll read through the vignette together and answer some of the questions together, and then I'll show you what you have to do for the rest. So, final test, it starts on page 162. Okay, so flip towards the back, 162. And it is technically vignette 10, and the title is A Rice Sandwich, which sounds really funny to me. And in this vignette, we're still reading from Esperanza's point of view, so we're still reading about Esperanza and her life. But in this one, it's a little bit different. So the setting is a bit different, and her aspiration is different. So she's at school for most of this story, and her aspiration is not about the house in this one. So she doesn't want a house. It's not about that. She has a different aspiration, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what that is. We'll have to figure that out as we go through and read it and answer some questions, okay? So if you want to read it by yourself, you can. Just fast forward a bit in the video. If not, track with me while I read it on mine, okay? All right, here we go. The special kids, the ones who wear keys around their necks, get to eat in the canteen. The canteen. Even the name sounds important. Okay, so pause. Canteen. That's kind of like the name for like a water bottle, but in this case, I think canteen means like their cafeteria. Okay, so like you eat in the cafeteria or the gym at our school. Theirs is called the canteen. Okay. Even the name sounds important. And these kids at lunchtime go there because their mothers aren't home or home is too far away to get to. Pause again. So, only some kids at her school eat lunch in their canteen, in their cafeteria. The rest of them are close enough, they live close enough that they get to go home for lunchtime or to a friend's house, or they eat outside during lunchtime. Okay? Only some kids, and she says it's the important kids, get to eat lunch in the canteen. My home isn't far, but it's not close either. And somehow I got it in my head one day to ask my mother to make me a sandwich and write a note to the principal so I could eat in the canteen too. Oh no, she says, pointing the butter knife at me as if I'm starting trouble. No, sir. Next thing you know, everybody will be wanting a bag lunch. I'll be up all night cutting bread into little triangles. This one with mayonnaise, this one with mustard. No pickles on mine, but mustard on one side, please. You kids just like to invent more work for me. But Nenny says she doesn't want to eat at school, ever, because she likes to go home with her best friend Gloria, who lives across the schoolyard. Gloria's mama has a big color TV, and all they do is watch cartoons. Kiki and Carlos, her other siblings, on the other hand, are patrol boys. They don't want to eat at school either. They like to stand in the cold, especially if it's raining. They think suffering is good for you ever since they saw that movie, 300 Spartans. I'm no Spartan and hold up an anemic wrist to prove it. I can't even blow up a balloon without getting dizzy. And besides, I don't know how to make my own lunch. If I ate at school, there'd be less dishes to wash. You would see me less and less and like me better. Every day at noon, my chair would be empty. Where's my favorite daughter? You would cry. And when I came home finally at 3 p.m., you would appreciate me. So she's explaining to her mom why she should eat at school instead of coming all the way home. Okay, my mother says after 3 days of this. And the following morning, I get to go to school with my mother's letter and a rice sandwich because we don't have lunch meat. Mondays or Fridays, it doesn't matter. Mornings always go by slow, and this day especially. But lunchtime came finally, and I got to get in line with the stay-at-school kids. Everything is fine until the nun who knows all the canteen kids by heart looks at me and says, "You? Who sent you here?" And since I am shy, I don't say anything. Just hold out my hand with the letter. "This is no good," she says, "till Sister Superior gives the okay. Go upstairs and see her." And so I went. So Esperanza's got the note from her mom saying that she can eat lunch at school. She has her little rice sandwich, so she's ready to go eat in the canteen. But one of the nuns says, "No, you need to go see Sister Superior." And that is just the name for one of the nuns. It's kind of their title, so it's kind of like go see the principal, okay? I had to wait for 2 kids in front of me to get hollered at. One because he did something in class, and the other because he didn't. My turn came, and I stood in front of the big desk with holy pictures under the glass while the Sister Superior read my letter. It went like this. "Dear Sister Superior, please let Esperanza eat in the lunchroom because she lives too far away and she gets tired. As you can see, she is very skinny. I hope to God she does not faint. Thanking you, Mrs. E. Cordero." So that's the note from Esperanza's mom. "You don't live far," she says. "You live across the boulevard. That's only 4 blocks, not even. 3 maybe. 3 long blocks away from here. I bet I can see your house from my window. Which one? Come here. Which one is your house?" So her mom's letter said that she lives too far away. She'll get too tired if she comes all the way home for lunch and then has to go all the way back to school. And here Sister Superior, the principal, is saying, "You don't live that far. Come point out your house to me." And then she made me stand up on a box of books and point. "That one?" she said, pointing to a row of ugly 3 flats, the ones even the raggedy men are ashamed to go into. "Yes." I nodded, even though I knew that wasn't my house, and started to cry. I always cry when nuns yell at me, even if they're not yelling. Then she was sorry and said I could stay. Just for today. Not tomorrow or the day after. You go home. And I said yes, and could I please have a Kleenex? I had to blow my nose. In the canteen, which was nothing special, lots of boys and girls watched while I cried and ate my sandwich, the bread already greasy and the rice cold. Okay, so she got what she wanted. She got to eat her lunch in the canteen, but she said it was nothing special. And she cried the whole time, and she had to eat her sandwich, which had cold rice and greasy bread. So she got what she wanted, but it didn't turn out to be as good as she thought it was. Okay, so right here's a blank page. Maybe you could draw a smiley face on it. And then questions about the vignette start on page 168. Okay, so we just have a couple pages of questions that we need to answer about that story, about that excerpt. Okay, so it says, please answer questions in complete sentences and use evidence from the text to back up your answer. If possible, quote directly from the text, showing quotation marks. Number 1, look at the 3 excerpts from this vignette below. Underneath each excerpt, write down who's speaking, and in one sentence, summarize what's happening in the excerpt. So they're going to give us a little paragraph right here. We need to say who's speaking in that paragraph and what's a short summary. What are they talking about? What's a 1 or 2 sentences? 1 sentence, it says 1 sentence summary. The 1 sentence, sum up what this is saying. Okay, so just A. Who is speaking? Okay, so I'm going to read it again. Oh no, she says, pointing the butter knife at me as if I'm starting trouble. No, sir. Next thing you know, everybody will be wanting a bag lunch. I'll be up all night cutting bread into little triangles. This one with mayonnaise, this one with mustard. No pickles on mine. The mustard on one side, please. You kids just like to invent more work for me. So who is saying that in the story? Who is that dialogue from? Okay, so we're going through this together, but hopefully you can figure out that is from Esperanza's mother. Or if you just want to say mom, that's fine too. Or mama. Okay, and summary. What is she talking about? What does she mean? So I think it means that making lunches for all her kids is too much work. Okay, she thinks it would be too much work for her to make lunches for everyone. Too much work to make lunches for everyone. Okay, not too bad, right? That's all we're doing for the next couple questions. Okay, so pause there if you need to catch up with writing. And then I'm moving over to this side of the page. Okay, we have another excerpt. Same thing. Who's speaking? What's the summary? Here goes. And besides, I know how to make my own lunch. If I ate at school, there'd be less dishes to wash. You would see me less and less and like me better. Every day at noon, my chair would be empty. Where's my favorite daughter? You would cry. And when I came home finally at 3 p.m., you would appreciate me. So who was saying that in the story, in the vignette? That was Esperanza. And what's the summary? What is she talking about? So she's trying to argue with her mom about why she should be allowed to eat at school. So she's trying to convince her mother why it would be a good idea, okay? She is trying to talk her mom into letting her eat at school, or however you want to word it, that's fine. Convince her mother to let her eat at school. Pause it if you need to. Last one is just one sentence. Short one, not a paragraph, okay? Okay, okay, my mother says after 3 days of this. So, okay, okay. Who said that? And it says it right there. My mother says. So that one is Esperanza's mother. But what does she mean? If she's just saying okay, okay, what is she saying okay to? Okay, so she has finally been worn down by all of Esperanza's begging. She agreed to let Esperanza eat lunch at school. Okay, so she has agreed to let Esperanza eat at school. After 3 days, that's impressive. Esperanza was dedicated to her argument. Okay, so pause it. That was everything we had to do for number 1. Was those 3 excerpts and answering who was talking. Okay. All right, number 2, another question. In the letter to Sister Superior, Esperanza's mother writes something that is incorrect English. What does she say that is incorrect? Ooh, tricky. Okay, so I'm going to flip back to her letter. It's back a couple pages on page 165. And I'm going to read the letter again. Dear Sister Superior, please let Esperanza eat in the lunchroom because she lives too far away and she gets tired. As you can see, she is very skinny. I hope to God she doesn't faint. Thanking you, Mrs. E. Cordero. Okay, so in this letter from the mother to the principal, what is incorrect grammatically? Okay, so not spelled wrong per se, but what does she say kind of strangely? What sounds weird about this letter? Might be kind of hard to find, but it is thanking you. It should just be thank you, right? Thanking you sounds a little bit odd, so that's grammatically wrong, okay? So back to page 169, number 2. What does she say that is incorrect? She says thanking you instead of thank you. Okay. I think that's just a language barrier kind of thing. Like maybe I mean, we already know from the rest of the stories that they speak Spanish, so maybe she learned Spanish first and English is her second language, so some things, like little things like that, are little easy mistakes. Okay, next page. Okay, number 3. In this vignette, Esperanza has a discussion with Sister Superior. Read that discussion in the last 4 paragraphs of the vignette. So it's when she's talking to her principal. If you want to go back and read it, we can. Or if we need to, we'll see. What are the similarities between this discussion and the conversation between Esperanza and the nun in the first vignette you read, The House on Mango Street? You may refer back to the original text to help you. So if you need to, we can go all the way back to the first vignette and look through that one. What is similar? Similarities. So remember in the very first vignette, she met that nun on the street in front of her house, and she didn't really like that nun, it sounded like. She was unhappy about the encounter, like she didn't like the conversation. She was ashamed. She felt like nothing. Okay, and this discussion with Sister Superior, again, she's not happy with it. I mean, she's crying during their conversation. She feels bad about where she lives. She's trying to point out her house and points to the wrong house and doesn't correct her Sister Superior, doesn't correct the principal. So, I would say, I mean, one main one is she's talking to a nun in both of them, right? She's unhappy about the conversation. Okay, so you can list as many as you want. She is talking to a nun. She is unhappy. She is ashamed of her house. Okay. All right, and B, what are the differences between those discussions? Okay, so this one was what's similar between the first nun and this conversation. This is what's different about it. Okay. I would say that in this one, she's not talking about her real house. She pointed to the wrong house. She's in a different place, right? In the first one, she was out in front of her house, and this one, she's at school. Okay. She is in a different setting. She is talking about a different house this time. Okay. Those are a little bit tricky, similarities and differences. Well, the differences at least are tricky. Number 4, this one's an easier one. What does Esperanza want in this vignette? So what is her aspiration? What does she want to do? She wants to eat in the canteen. During lunch, I'll add. Make sure you have a capital and a period. Remember, we're doing complete sentences. Okay, Okay, pause on that page if you need that page still. Moving over. Number 5, does she achieve her aspiration? So her aspiration was to eat lunch in the canteen. Does she do that? Yes, she does. At the end. Yes, she achieves her aspiration of eating in the canteen. But she's not very happy about it at the end, right? Okay, and that kind of goes with number 6. There's a common saying, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. Have you guys heard that before? Maybe you've heard that. What do you think this saying might mean? How does it apply to the vignette you just read? So this is your opinion. It's what do you think this means? The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. I wish I could see you guys. I want to ask who's heard that before. Can't see you if you're raising your hand now. That just means like in your yard, in your metaphorical yard, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. So like your neighbor's fence, right? So like here's the 2 yards. This side is yours. And you're like, it's okay. But on the other side of the fence, the grass is greener. It's nicer over here. Okay? So what I think that means is that, you know, what other people have is better than what you have. Or you think what other people have is better than what you have. So that's what I think it means. And how does it apply to the vignette? It means that Esperanza thinks it would be better to eat lunch, but then later she realizes it's actually not that great. Okay? So I think the saying means, and remember, it's your opinion. If you have a different opinion than me, write down your opinion. Don't copy mine. You can write whatever you want. I think the saying means what other people have seems better than what you have. Means what other people have seems better than what you have. Whoa, have. Esperanza thinks it'd be better to eat in the cafeteria or canteen, I guess. So she thinks it would be better to eat in the canteen. She doesn't like that she has to go home every day for lunch. She doesn't think it's fair. She thinks she's less important because of that. So she thinks the grass is greener on the other side because what the other people get to do is better than what she has to do. But then when she gets her want, when she gets her aspiration, she achieves it, and she eats in the canteen, she's like, it's not that special. I had a gross lunch, and I was crying, and there wasn't anything great about that room. And the boys and girls there were just staring at me while I cried. So really the grass isn't greener on the other side. There's an addition to that saying. So what people sometimes add to it, if they are optimistic and happy with their lives, it's the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, but the grass is greener where you water it. So again, if this is your side of the fence and you're like, this sucks. And you're like, well, that side's greener. They have better stuff than me. They have a better life than me. The grass is greener where you water it, right? If you don't ever water your grass, if you don't ever take care of your grass, then it's not going to be green. Maybe the other people are just taking care of it. So what that means in terms of your life or stuff you have is if you're not watering your grass, it means that you're not trying. You're not like taking care of your own life. Okay, you need to put some effort in to make your life better. Put some effort in, and then it'll increase and get better, and your grass will be greener. right? So you gotta try too. You can't just sit there wishing for things to be better and looking at what other people have. You gotta work for it. You gotta try. Okay, so that's that side. On this side, here's one that you are doing by yourself, because I want to see you do this, because we've practiced this a lot in this lesson so far. Okay, so here's an excerpt from the story we just read. What you have to do is underline all the dialogue in this, just in this. Don't go back to the main story. Just right here, underline the dialogue, and then it says circle all the personal pronouns. If you don't remember what a personal pronoun is, it's like he, she, me, I, we. Okay, it's back a few lessons if you need to go back and review, but circle all the personal pronouns. That one you're doing on your own. Okay, here is the first writing prompt. There are 2 writing prompts, okay? There's clearly no space here. There's pages on the other, or lines on the other page, the next page. So it says, respond to the question below by stating your opinion and providing quotes from the text to support that opinion. So the question you're answering is, how do Esperanza's feelings about the canteen change from the beginning to the end of the vignette? And I've talked about this a little bit, but remember, it is your opinion. How do you think her feelings changed? So think about these questions as you go through and write. Are there any clues in the text that show how Esperanza thinks about the canteen in the first paragraph? And are there any clues in the last paragraph? Okay, so here is your question. How do her feelings change about the canteen from the beginning of the story to the very end? This is your page to write your answer. But don't explain why her feelings have changed, because that's the second question. Why do you think her feelings have changed? I think her feelings have changed because blank. Okay, think about these questions as you come up with your answer. How does Esperanza feel after her conversation with her mother? And how does Esperanza feel after her conversation with Sister Superior, the principal? And then during that conversation with Sister Superior, she points to a house that isn't Esperanza's. How does Esperanza feel about that house? And how might that feeling affect her mood? You can use examples from other vignettes you have read to back up your answer. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the first question. How do her feelings change? And why do her feelings change? Okay, it's not that long. So for the first question, it's just this page right here. And then for this one, question 2, why do you think her feelings changed? It's just these right here, this half of the page. That's all you have to write, okay? So it's not that long. All you guys have to do by yourselves, I've done a lot of this assessment with you. All you have to do is this section right here where you have to underline the dialogue and circle the personal pronouns. And then these 2 writing questions, and that's it, okay? And then the rest of this book is all extra stuff, okay? So all of these pausing point pages, these are all extra. You do not have to do any of these, okay? This is all extra stuff in the back. All of these pausing point pages, don't do them. They're extra. We don't need them. There's a little biography about the author of The House on Mango Street if you do want to read that. There's a glossary of all our vocab words. And then all the rest of this is just those creative space pages where you can add more writing. Or maybe you did when you wrote your chapters, okay? So that's everything. That's the whole test. Good luck. I'll see it once you turn in your workbooks. See you in the next CKLA video for our next unit, Treasure Island. Yeah!